For Tuck Almighty's 1-year anniversary, I agreed to turn the top comment on this video into our first matchup of August. Now, I'm a little late, but hey, we're back now, and above all else, I'm here to make good on our promise. So, after all that time, I can't wait to learn what epic clash our wonderful community has spent months meticulously preparing for my arrival. An old classic, something new and exciting. The possibilities are so endless that there's no conceivable way to mess it up. And you picked the big leg ladies. Just roll the card.
Round 1. Fight!
Alright, so to point out the obvious, the only thing giving this matchup a leg to stand on is, well, the obvious. So I'm not gonna try to bore you with some explanation about why this is secretly the most complex matchup ever. You wanna see two girls kick each other, and I'm just here to deliver. Even if it cost us the magic that was Arthur Morgan versus Peppino Spaghetti. Fortunately though, Street Fighter's strongest woman versus My Hero's, relatively close to the strongest woman, does, unironically, have some really interesting scaling to go over, since these two are both so utterly middle of the road that you can basically apply anything I say regarding one to the vast majority of other characters in their universe. As an example, despite living in a world where 80% of the human population has magic superpowers called quirks, Mirko, the psycho chick whose only claim to fame is bunny ears, strong thighs, and sheer tenacity, is ranked in Japan's top 10 heroes chart for the entirety of her run in MHA. Meaning, most of what she accomplishes are things that basically any MHA high tier can realistically aim to achieve, along with, hopefully, having a better superpower. So, for the sake of brevity, why don't we just go over some of the things that Mirko and friends have actually managed to pull off with that great gift of kicks to get a baseline of what Chun Li is up against. Cause, surprisingly, Mirko only has a few fights in the series, and they're mostly against the same person. Or should I say, people, since we're talking about Nomu. A group of human science experiments that combined multiple of My Hero's quirky individuals into souped-up Frankensteinian monsters. These monsters had multiple powers and served as the backbone of the main villain's army during most of the series' relevant battles. But like some sort of X-rated chiropractor, Mirko was always there to be stomping those backbones back into place, giving us a great idea of where Mirko scales in terms of speed and strength relative to these Nomu, since during her debut fight, she pulls up on a whole horde of them fresh out the test tubes without too much difficulty. But after said Nomu are revealed to be high-ends and wake up to their full power, they proceed to totally annihilate Mirko and force her to run away, taking both her arm and leg as payment. These high-end Nomu that Mirko seemed to cap out against are constantly characterized in the manga by one statement. They are as strong as All Might. All Might, of course, is the Superman of Mirko's world, an ultimate symbol of peace who could survive city-destroying attacks and punch away storms. However, after years of battle and aging, All Might's powers diminished to approximately 1/60th of their original levels, and allowed the villains to create these extra powerful high-end Nomu that were just as strong as that weakened version of All Might. Using Hood, the first ever high-end we meet, as a reference, he's explicitly stated to be faster and stronger than Endeavor, the second strongest hero behind All Might, and is directly compared to both All For One, All Might's greatest rival, alongside directly upscaling from the lower-ranked USJ Nomu, who straight up matched Old Might in a 1v1 fight. We can also definitively say the ones Mirko fought were this strong thanks to this statement about all other high-ends being just as strong and intelligent as Hood. So, knowing all that, we can pretty easily say that if Chun Li was tangibly above this high-end level, then Mirko's probably getting cooked. The real kicker here, though, is that to answer this question, we also have to ask, what's really canon to the world of Street Fighter? Cause unlike the simple, straightforward canon of a manga, where you can read one series from front to back, then learn almost everything there is to know about it, Street Fighter is a competitive fighting game first and foremost, where plot is often thrown out the window in favor of things like game balance, and the little lore these games do have is usually tucked away into contradictory story modes or supplementary material, making the series much harder to discern all around. But for the OG fighting game waifu, there is a silver lining. She's really popular. So unlike your random Joes and Lees of the world, Capcom has done their best to keep some degree of continuity with her at all times. The only problem is that, especially in the mainline games, Chun Li seems much weaker than her title would imply. Ever since her debut in Street Fighter II, Interpol officer Chun Li has been on an extended quest to avenge her father by defeating his killer, M. Bison. Back then, the stakes of these street fights were obviously meant to be much more simple. But after 6 numbered games and 3 alphas, the strongest woman in the world has never gotten a major power boost to grow past those grounded depictions of human limits. In fact, during anything close to a canon attempt we've seen at her avenging her father, she's lost really, really badly, causing her to plummet a few whole rungs down the scaling ladder after almost every new release. As not only are there tons of new blatantly superhuman characters in the latest games, but even other OGs like Dhalsim or Guile are just given more important things to do in 4 and 5's main story modes. Heck, even other ladies like Chun-Li's out-of-universe rival Cammy, or especially Yuri, have put her strongest title into question altogether. Which is honestly kinda hilarious in a tragic sort of way, since her fellow Street Fighters do pretty reasonably reach that Old Might high-end Nomu level too, with both verses having low ends around city level and highballs placing them all the way up to island level. To point out specific examples, at the end of Alpha 2, Akuma just sort of punches an island out of existence and repeats the feat again during Street Fighter 4. Whereas the film versions of Old All Might could punch away island-encompassing supercell storms, giant hyperdense cubes, and even scales to the cruise missile punch, which is also in that large island-level range. This also holds true with speed scaling to a degree, cause Lady Nagant hit the second strongest person in the verse with a relativistic speed bullet, whereas a few of the Street Fighters can dodge light-speed lasers or create and react to attacks that are viewable from orbit. So yeah, not looking great for Chun Li in the mainline comparison. But there is one saving grace for the Street Fighter fans among us, which has to do with a secondary canon, specifically Marvel canon. You see, Earth 30847 was created to house the Marvel vs. Capcom series, a world where the characters of multiple Capcom franchises cross over with many of Marvel's greatest heroes. Now, sure, most Capcom reps don't have any real way to argue that their time in Marvel vs. Capcom is canon. Street Fighter is a bit of an interesting case, since they canonically crossed over with Marvel multiple times before Marvel vs. Capcom, most memorably with the X-Men. And if you choose to view it as canon, it would dramatically shift the tides of this fight, since in Marvel vs. Capcom, Ryu and Chun-Li are just plainly stated to be relative, with multiple claims of them being equal sparring partners. Not only would this upscale her to the rest of the Street Fighter cast, But Ryu, in this continuity specifically, can straight up level mountains and potentially even entire planets by his own merit. All without ever mentioning that basically everyone in Marvel vs. Capcom, by the events of the third game, can already defeat planet-busting Galactus on their own, giving Chun Li some shockingly consistent claims at planetary power on this route. And if you've ever wanted to argue that Phoenix Wright or your favorite Res-E protagonist could beat down an anime character, this is certainly one way to do it. Plus, if you're trying to give Chun Li her max power or canon equipment, this lady has canonically held multiple Infinity Stones before, including the universe-busting Power Stone. So, when Chun Li's amped, she might even be making Goku sweat a little. Either way though, that's pretty much the gist of it. Mirko either mid-diffs due to scaling way closer to their respective high tiers, or gets unironically Thanos snapped out of existence by the power of Capcom's whole marketing budget. Hope y'all enjoyed your shameless matchup, and that's all for today. Thanks, everyone.